Can't tell me you ain't tried. Anybody who is determined to do something, who wants something to be different, it will eventually be different.
The breakthrough happens by conditioning your mind every day, by feeding it a role model or a story. It's putting yourself in a peak state when you follow through by getting physically strong. It's creating a little ritual of doing a little bit each day, and then you get momentum. The most important thing of all is what you start out with.
So, be self-motivated. Don't give that job away to someone else. The guy says, boy, if someone will just come by and turn me on. Hey, what if he doesn't show up? You've got to have a better plan for your life.
There's so much money in this world that we all can get what we need. Not just to be rich, but to be wealthy. To be able to help the next person. To be able to tell somebody how you made it. That's what it's about. To be able to help your friends and family. So don't tell me that you want to be an entrepreneur if you're not willing to put in the work. The sweat, blood, and tears for yourself, for your future.
Looking at the word courage, the attitude of facing and dealing with anything recognized as dangerous, difficult, or painful, instead of withdrawing from it. As you begin to look at where you want to go and take personal inventory, it's going to be very uncomfortable. That's why most people don't do it. It's very painful to admit your shortcomings, to admit your weaknesses. It's very painful to do that. It's much easier to withdraw from that and just ignore it. He goes on to the courage of one's convictions, the courage to do what one thinks is right. Now that takes you to the next step. What are the benefits? What are the benefits of your acting courageously, taking life on? Well, part of what happened was that I felt better within myself, and I had a strong sense of self-respect. Going into business for myself, I made a lot of mistakes. Sometimes I was down on myself. I felt stupid. I felt dumb. I didn't know any better. But the other thing is, I had to say to myself, but I did it. I did, even if I made a flop of it, I did it. I took the chance. I took the leap. What are the benefits of your acting courageously, whatever it is that you've identified? Focus on the benefits, not on the liabilities, not on your fears. Focus on the benefits. That which you hold in consciousness tends to manifest itself. Think about how good you feel. Think about the level of increased self-respect, the sense of self-worth that you'll feel. How good you feel getting up in the morning, looking yourself in the mirror, because you're taking life on.
We have a vision. And what a vision is the ability to see that which cannot be seen. That's why we call it vision. It literally lives in our imagination. I say, imagine a world. Imagine. Close your eyes. Imagine a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired, feel safe at work, and return home fulfilled at the end of the day. And what you see in your mind's eye is yourself and the people you love having that experience and those feelings. That is a complete figment of your imagination. It is not real. It is the equivalent of an iceberg. That's what vision is. It's being able to see that which no one else can see because it lies beneath. And when we work with a small group of people who say, I believe what you believe, and we will work together, and what ends up happening is a tiny little piece of iceberg pops up, and a couple people go, oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, I'm in. And they join in, and a little more iceberg shows up, and a little more iceberg shows up. And before you know it, everybody goes, it's amazing what you're doing. And you'll say, tip of the iceberg. And the iceberg is huge, and people say, look at all the success you've had. And you'll say, tip of the iceberg. Because that's what it means to wake up every single day to advance a cause. It means that we devote our lives to building that which has not been built, to advancing what has not been advanced, to showing that which is not seen, and not obsessing with the successes we've had and how much iceberg is above the ocean, but how much more work we have to do. And it all started with a tiny little bit of ice sticking above the ocean.
Everything changed, and it changed so dramatically that I'm still sort of fascinated with what happened and what's happening. And it keeps happening. It doesn't stop, and it will for you. Now, take a look at what Steve Jobs says here. He said, for 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning, and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? Whenever the answer's been no, for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Well, ask yourself, do you want to keep doing what you were doing? You see, I think many times we say, no, I don't want to keep doing it. And we go to sleep thinking, I'm going to change tomorrow. But we don't do it. And we don't do it in most cases because we don't understand why we're doing what we're doing. We really don't have a real solid understanding of the paradigm. And if we don't have an understanding of the paradigm, we're going to have difficulty changing it. What we want to do here this weekend is help you really understand this. Now, someone once said, when you read a good book through the second time, you don't see something in it you didn't see before. You see something in yourself that wasn't there before. So you may have been through one of these seminars, or you may have been studying this material, and think, but I know that. Don't look at it that way. Ask yourself, are you getting the results you want to get? If you're not, you don't really understand this yet. I've been reading this book every day since October the 21st, 1961. Now the book's falling apart. I got a bigger elastic around it to hold it together. And I know there's parts of this that I don't have right yet. I know that because the business isn't the way I want it yet. I want us to grow. I want us to get much, much bigger. And we're going to, because we're doing the things we have to do. But for us to do that, the change has to take place inside, not outside. It's not the systems that we have in the computer. It's not the number of people that we hire. It's what's going on in our own mind. If just one of us has a bad attitude, whoo, it spreads through the company. Because you see, it's in the air. It's a vibration. And if a person's not thinking, bang, like that, they move into that vibration. They pick up the energy. They don't understand what's going on. All we have to do is work on ourselves. We don't have to work on anything else. Just on me. That's all I have to work on.
Theodore Roosevelt comes up and a quote comes up. And I read it, and this is what it says. It's a quote from a speech that he gave in the early 1900s at the Sorbonne, and a lot of people call it the Man in the Arena speech. And this is the passage that changes my life. It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done it better. The credit belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with blood and sweat and dust, who, at the best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who, at worst, if he fails daring greatly. So the moment that I read that, I closed my laptop, and this is what shifted in me. 3 huge things. First, I spent the last 12 years studying vulnerability, and that quote was everything I know about vulnerability. It is not about winning, it's not about losing, it's about showing up and being seen. The second thing, this is who I want to be. I want to create. I want to make things that didn't exist before I touched them. I want to show up and be seen in my work and in my life. And if you're going to show up and be seen, there is only one guarantee, and that is you will get your ass kicked. That is the guarantee. That's the only certainty you have. If you're going to go in the arena and spend any time in there whatsoever, especially if you've committed to creating in your life, you will get your ass kicked. So you have to decide at that moment I think for all of us, if courage is a value that we hold, this is a consequence. You can't avoid it. The third thing, which really set me free, and I think Steve, my husband, would argue has made me somewhat dangerous, is kind of a new philosophy about criticism, which is this. If you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. The arena's right there. You can see it. The light's there. And the fear is this. I'm scared. A lot of self-doubt, comparison, anxiety, uncertainty. And so what do most people do when they're walking into the arena and those things are going to greet them up top? What do? You armor up, right? This is where I would imagine the old days that they got all their stuff on. But God, that stuff is heavy. And that stuff is suffocating. And the problem is when you armor up against vulnerability, you shut yourself off. And I've said this to audiences before, but I have never said it to an audience where it is more true than today, this second. When you armor up in this hallway, you shut yourself off from everything that you do and that you love. Because vulnerability is certainly a part of fear and self-doubt and grief and uncertainty and shame, but it's also the birthplace of these. It's the birthplace of love, of belonging, of joy, trust, empathy, creativity, and innovation. Without vulnerability, you cannot create. So what I think you're asked to do as a creative on a daily basis is walk through this hall, get to the top of the stairs, and get naked.